Everybody settled in. We're going to gavel in just about 30 seconds. Or maybe sooner. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 5, 2025 meeting of the Transportation Planning Organization Citizens Advisory Committee. My name is Rick Fernandez. It's my privilege to chair the committee. I want to thank everyone in the room. Clearly, we have quorum tonight. We have good attendance, so welcome to all of you. We have a number of new members that I haven't met, so we'll have a chance to get introduced while we go through the introductions here today. And to those in the gallery, welcome, and those online, thanks for everybody being here. Okay, as we can start out with public comment. No, all right, introductions. Yeah, let's do the introductions. Going around from my left to right. Again, Rick Fernandez, chair of the committee. I'm at-large Hispanic representative.
Good evening, everyone. Stephen Hollenkamp. I'm with the city of Plant City.
Dana Lazarus, appointed by Tampa City Councilman Lynn Bertac.
Joseph Citro, appointed by Board County Commissioner Harry Clark.
Susie Watts, appointed by Commissioner Miller.
Carlson Rush, member at large. Chris Gonzalez, member at large.
For Greece at large. So at large.
Justin Johnson at large. Stephen Jones at large.
Olivia Adams at large.
Jamie Jones at large.
Christina Costa, returning for another tour on the CAC, my third in maybe 7 years total. I've been appointed by City Councilman Bill Carlson.
I'm Tina Torres. I'll be your liaison tonight. Sarah Ginger wasn't able to be here, and I'm the assistant director at the TPO.
And Andrew?
Age Marquetti, Port Tampa.
Okay. Not everybody has a nameplate in front of them. Did we not have the made for everyone?
I guess there's still a few that we don't. So
Okay. There aren't any just sitting there on the table unaccounted for?
did you guys check? Before you came in?
Chair, Chair, I'm catching up on that, so that's on me.
Okay. Well, we have some in a bin. Maybe one of them is going to be adopted. Let's see.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris.
Anybody else? Artie, Bill, Carolyn, Sarah, Alaya, and Ed. Okay,
Okay.
Matt, Brandon, Carmelo, Yada.
Not yet. All right, online, who do we have?
Matt Sink, I'm appointed by Councilman Alan Clendenin.
Okay, we have someone else just walked in. Would you identify yourself, sir?
Alan Shedder.
You are school board rep, correct? Okay, welcome. Let's see.
Sorry.
Chairman, I am online. This is Victoria Williams with Turnpike. I'll be presenting later. Thank you.
Okay, very good. All right, well, let me just say up front, there are a lot of new faces in the room, and even some of the old faces, sometimes I lose the names. So when you speak, when I recognize you to speak, would you please identify yourself for the record so Gail can keep track? If I can't, at least you can keep us honest. All right, fair enough? That goes for you folks online as well, please. Okay, take roll. Gail?
You've just done that with the introductions and with the sign-in sheet at the end of the table by the nameplates.
All right, are we declaring quorum?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. All right, move on to public comment. Anyone in the room for public comment? If you're online, please mute yourself. No one in the room for public comment? All right, anyone online, public comment? Apparently not. Okay, very good. Chair's report. Be very, very quick. Let's see. There was one item that the CAC acted upon in October that was also acted upon by the board. The CAC recommended that the TPO board approve the tip amendments to the FY 25-26 tip. The TPO board approved the tip amendments, so consistent with our recommendation. That'll do for now. Take us to first action item, that's minutes, approval of the October 1, 2025 minutes. Hopefully you had an opportunity to review them. They were part of your agenda package. Is there a motion to approve?
Via Adams, I move to approve.
Thank you. Via Adams moves to approve. Susie.
50 watts, seconds.
Susie Watts offers the second. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Again, October 1, 2025. Any discussion from anyone online? All right, by acclamation then, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Please note that is unanimous. That takes us to action item on your agenda, Roman numeral 7 alpha, FDOT and FTE tentative work programs, and TPO letter of comment. Bless you. Could we start with a definition of the alphabet soup, first of all? I think we all know what FDOT is. I hope we do. FTE?
Florida Turnpike Enterprise.
Okay, thanks. And Elizabeth Watkins,
TPO staff.
you're on.
Yes.
All right.
So this is a multi-part presentation, so I wanted to set the stage before we hear from our next presenters. Our partners from DOT District 7, as well as Turnpike, are here today to present their work programs, draft tentative work programs, and then the action being asked of you today is a draft letter of comment that the MPO annually submits in response to those work programs. So the first two presentations are more informative. Please ask them project-specific questions, but we need your action on the letter. So without further ado, if I can hand it over to Alyssa Joyner from FDOT.
Hi, everyone. Alyssa Joyner, FDOT, here to present on our tentative work program. I'll first start out with a little bit of an overview of what the tentative work program update process looks like, and then we'll have some project-specific slides that show any additions, deferrals, or changes in project for this tentative work program cycle. So FDOT's work program is a 5-year plan, and it includes funding for projects from public transit, seaport, airport, and rail projects, and covers phases from planning all the way through construction. Every year on June 30th, the current year of the work program ends, and year 2 moves up to become the new current year on July 1st. And this is currently where we're at in the process. This presentation, like I said, will outline any changes to that first 5 years of the work program and highlight any projects that have been added in the 5th year. And this proposed work program will be submitted to the Florida legislature later this year for review, and then will go to the governor for review and signature. And then once the governor signs it, the first year will be included in the state budget, and this work program will be considered adopted. Our programming strategy, we first look at preserving any of the existing programs. So any projects that might have had funding increases, we look to put money on those projects so they can stay whole. Then we look to fund the next phases of projects. So if design has been completed, but right of way needs to be acquired or construction is ready, then we'll look at funding those phases. And then finally, we look to add any new projects that we can. And we get these projects first from the MPO priority list, which is that list of priority projects you all look at every year, and also any regional priorities. So for example, the Suncoast Transportation Planning Alliance, any regional priorities that they select. And then finally, any FDOT and CIS priorities. Now we're getting to the project pages. Like I said, this will show any of the new projects that have been added, any newly funded project phases, projects that have been deferred, and then we'll focus specifically on any projects of interest. And if a previously programmed project isn't mentioned in this presentation, that just means that there have not been any changes to it at this time. And you can also see a complete list and map of all of the projects in our 5-year work program on our district work program website. The link is on this slide, but there's another slide that'll have the link as well. So the first funded priority is adding planning funds to the TPO, and that's just the funds that the TPO uses to complete their work activities. For transit, we have some funds added to the hard-cutting maintenance facility, the bus stop capital repairs and bus replacements, and the City of Tampa streetcar extension has been removed from the work program. This is because the funding source, the New Starts program, was removed due to legislative action. But DOT is still working with the City of Tampa to figure out new funding strategies as they continue to explore that project. There are a couple of auxiliary lanes that construction has been removed from the work program. First, I-4 from east of Way Station to west of McIntosh Road, and also on I-4 from west of Bethlehem Road to west of Branch Forbes Road. For the auxiliary lanes on I-4 from east of Bethlehem Road to west of Branch Forbes Road, that design has been advanced to fiscal year 26 and construction has been advanced to fiscal year 27. There's been rail funding added in fiscal year 28 to East Alexander at Jim Johnson Road. Construction's been added in fiscal year 30 and designed in fiscal year 30 and construction in fiscal year 31, sorry. For North 56th Street at Druid Hills Road and Serena Drive, that'll be an intersection improvement project. And design has also been added in fiscal year 31 for intersection improvements at North 56th Street and 113th Avenue. Construction's been deferred to fiscal year 30 for I-275 from north of the Howard Franklin Bridge to north of Lois. Construction was removed from the work program for State Road 574 from east of Kingsway to east of McIntosh Road. And right-of-way has been removed from the work program for I-4 from west of I-75 northbound off-ramp to east of Mayfield Road. Right-of-way has been removed from the work program also for I-275 from north of Lois Avenue to north of Howard. And construction's been deferred beyond this work program cycle for State Road 60 from Valrico to east of Dover. Construction's been added to fiscal year 29, or design's been added in 29, construction in 30 for Scott Street from North Morgan Street to North Jefferson Street. And construction's been added to 28 for I-4 from I-75 to County Line Road. Construction's been deferred to fiscal year 28 for the urban corridor improvements along Highland Avenue from Violet Street to US 92. And been deferred to fiscal year 30 for the urban corridor improvements on Lois Avenue from west of Cleveland Street to Boy Scout Boulevard. Right-of-way has been added to fiscal year 26 for the urban corridor improvements along West George Boulevard from Northville Mabry Highway to North Nebraska Avenue. And construction's been added to fiscal year 31 for the urban corridor improvements on East Hannah Avenue. Construction was removed from the work program for the Bullard Parkway at Broadway Avenue crosswalk. Construction was deferred to 29 for Fowler Avenue from 56th Street to east of I-75. That'll be a separated bike path along that road. And construction's been added to fiscal year 31 through the Sun Trail program for to complete the Upper Tampa Bay Trail. Design's been added in 31 for phase 1 of the Plant City Canal Connector Trail. And we've added design and construction in fiscal year 31 to continue the effort to fill in the sidewalk gaps throughout Hillsborough County. This slide is a little bit difficult to see. It just kind of shows an overview of all of the resurfacing projects that are happening in Hillsborough County during the tentative work program cycle. And I believe we have a listing of that as well that can be provided if you don't already have it in your agenda packet, if you would like to see more information about those specific projects. Construction's been deferred outside of this tentative work program for US 41 at the CXX grade separation. And construction's been added in 28 for State Road 60 from west of North 34th Street to east of North 34th Street. And this slide just shows the total funding over the next 5 years. Some of them may seem a little bit unbalanced, but that doesn't mean that we're not completing other improvements in those areas. So it might seem like it's a little bit light on bike ped projects, for example, or safety, but oftentimes a lot of those capacity and resurfacing projects also include bicycle pedestrian improvements and safety improvements. We're just not able to pull those kinds of funding sources out. This just shows it by major work mix, not all of the minor other parts of the projects that are also being included. We already held our online public hearing from October 20th through the 24th, and we were accepting comments on this work program until November 3rd. Like Elizabeth mentioned, we're looking to get your input on the MPO objections letter that's due on November 11th. And we'll be sending this tentative work program in early spring to the legislature, and then it'll be signed and hopefully adopted by July 1 of next year. This slide is where you can, the link where you can find the map and the listing of all of the projects that are in District 7 in this 5-year tentative work program. And I can take any questions that you may have now.
Okay, and before we go to questions, Elizabeth, could I get you to come back to the podium? We have several new people in the room that haven't been through this process before. And I know you tried at the front end, but I'm going to ask you to do it again. We have an action item that will be before us in a few minutes, having to do with a letter of comment. I want you again to explain what we just heard from the presenter, how that information relates to the letter of comment that you're going to be asked to deal with in a few moments.
So the letter of comment is basically TPO's response to what DOT is proposing to fund in the tentative. So there are a couple of important projects that Alyssa mentioned that you'll see in this letter. We know this is a high area of interest for the CAC. So Sarah sent out a draft of the letter a few weeks ago. So thanks to those who had an opportunity to review that. But these are the projects the letter comments on the program projects.
Okay, thank you. And maybe that was unnecessary, but I can just imagine there's some folks here that maybe are swimming in deep water. I just want to make sure they know where they are. Okay, the usual practice here, again, for the new folks, I generally work from my left around the room to take comments and questions from everyone. So we will do that again. I will get to you. All right. Left side of the room first. Hands up. Dana.
Dana Lazarus for the record. November 3rd was 2 days ago. So you're not accepting comments and concerns.
No, that's why the action is on the letter today.
Okay. So do you know the date or about when the New Starts program funds for the streetcar were removed?
I don't know the exact date. I know that it was part of the last session of the legislature.
That is helpful. So the Alexander project, one of the first ones, you said adding rail.
Mhm.
What is that? Is it passenger rail? Is it freight rail? What is the rail?
I'm not 100% sure. I would need to look more at what the project is. It could just be that there's rail in the area and they're having to accommodate that, but I would have to look more at that. But I can write that down and get back to you.
I know it's in Plant City. There's a lot of railroad tracks. Okay. And my last thing is the right of way at it's from Lois to Howard on 275 has been removed.
Yes,
Is it deferred or removed?
it's removed. We don't need any right of way for that project.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions to my left here? Susie?
Susie Watts. I live over in Bloomingdale and we've had tremendous growth south of us. And it seemed like most of this is not there. So is it because new growth is funded out of other buckets? This is more doing stuff.
This is just the, could you repeat the question?
We've seen tremendous growth south of Bloomingdale, Riverview, South County. I've noticed that most of the things that were addressed are existing more northern and mid county. Is it because this is more improvements to existing? Is this pot?
So this goes through a variety of different pots, but the TPO has TPO specific funding that they can allocate. And so some projects are through, projects are picked through the list of priority projects that I was discussing earlier.
Okay.
So if there's a project on that list that it's high enough up and it's chosen to be funded, then those are the funds that are allocated to that project. It depends on a variety of different factors of how big projects are chosen, and which funding pots they use.
Thank you.
You good? Satisfied? All right. Carson?
Carson Bush. I noticed that for a number of these, it cites urban corridor improvements. Could you elaborate on what that means?
It varies based on the project. So I know for one instance, the Bush Boulevard project is one that's listed as urban corridor improvements, and that includes the addition of sidewalks and other, safety measures along that corridor. I would have to, double check. I think there's a variety of different things that are covered under that. Do you have any specific projects that you're curious about?
No, that's just one.
Okay.
All right, Chrisvel?
This is Chris Bella. Have a question. So I noticed the right of way, obviously acquisition was removed. Where is that money going? Is it going back to general revenues? Is it going back to legislation or to like be reappropriated by some committee, or how's that? Because my heart, my question is that I'd like to see that money go towards street art. If we're not purchasing any property for interstate expansion, why can't we tilt that over to transit? And how do we, I guess, inform the TPO and committee to navigate through that water to make such a request if we wanted to?
So that would depend on the funding source for that as well. There are some funding sources that are allocated specifically towards public transportation and those kinds of projects. I don't believe that the right-of-way funding that was allocated to that project was that kind of funding, so I don't think that it could be redistributed in that way. I'm not 100% sure where it's necessarily going back to, because I don't know the funding source off the top of my head. But I think that, yes, it depends on the funding source on if it can go towards transit and public transportation, and that is done, that can be sent to the TPO through the priority list. Typically is the best way to go about that.
Right, is it possible that maybe we could transfer over to TPO staff? The amount like saving on that right away, maybe some future discussion would be started as to maybe utilizing this money for transit.
Again, that would depend on what the funding source for that was. It might not be able to be used for transit. It's not necessarily a direct one-to-one. But that is something that I can write down to look into.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else to my left? I shift over to the right side of the room here. Any hands up? Dustin?
Justin Johnson. So to understand, you're basically saying that some of these things that are being pulled off is because there's no funding for them, or that money's being reallocated. And then why are they being pulled, in essence?
Do you have a specific project? It depends on what the project is as to why it's being deferred or what's happening to the funding.
Well, let's look at the construction removed from the work program from I-4 West Bethlehem to the branch towards. Construction removed from work program I-4 east of Way Station, west of McIntosh Road. What else is there? Your construction's deferred for fiscal year to fiscal year 30 for I-275 north of Lois. Construction removed from the work program for State Route 574 east of Kingsway Road to McIntosh Road. Right of way removed from work program I-4 to west I-75. I'm just trying to understand that if this is planning, and I think it was planned either tentatively to have funding and you didn't get that funding, that's why it's being pulled off, or they've been planned with funding, then why all of a sudden are we pulling all these things off?
I know that some of those projects that you listed are part of we're getting CIS funding. And CIS is a statewide program, and that is funding that's allocated by central office. The districts don't necessarily have a say over that. And annually, they do a reprioritization of the projects that have funding. And so sometimes they may get deferred or deleted based on that central office led reprioritization.
Dustin, you good? Any other hands up to my right? Jamie, I'm sorry, Vivian?
Ivy Adams. This may go along with Dustin's, but is there, do you by chance know why Bullard was pulled off since it's a pedestrian safety issue?
Yes, the Bullard Parkway, that crosswalk is actually being funded by the county.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so it's just a replacement. Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah, James Jones, just to make sure I'm reading this correctly. So for something like the I-4 east of Way Station, so add auxiliary lane, but construction removed. Tell me how that works, or.
Yes, it's
Add,
removed.
but remove the
Yes.
So, on the slides you're talking about?
Yeah.
So-
Slide 11.
Okay. So that first bullet is the work mix. So that's describing what the project would be doing. That second bullet is what's happening to the funding. I'm sorry, I should have been a little bit clearer about that.
Yes.
Yes. So every slide it's the project name. That first bullet is the work mix. So it's describing the scope of the project. That second bullet is explaining what's happening to the funding.
Thank you. That was a big missing piece of mine.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Christine, did I see your hand up?
Yes.
Christina Costa.
Christina Costa, thank you for your presentation. What did I see here about Lois Avenue? Can you bring that back up?
Oh, yes.
It was a deferral.
The lowest avenue.
Lois Avenue from Fleetwood Street to Bristol.
There was more than one
There was
bullet.
two.
The, from Cleveland to Boy Scout or a different one?
Cleveland to Boy Scout.
Yes.
Deferred to fiscal year 30. Can you help me understand why?
I don't know that off the top of my head, do you? So Suzanne Ziegler, at Dog, sorry that I'm late. Seems like this was powering through. Lois Avenue, so this was something that there was a couple projects that was a bump and roll, and we did coordinate with Johnny and the city of Tampa. There is another project, Bush Boulevard, that is from Down Mabry to Nebraska. We needed some additional funding for the right of way in order to make the letting for construction in 27. And so in an effort to make sure that we made good on the Bush Boulevard project that's been going on for the last 10 years where the young lady lost her life.
Lexi Miranda.
Yes. We wanted to make sure that that was a priority. So we approached Johnny with some ideas about how we could get that project funded. In an effort to do that, we talked to the city of Tampa and moved Lois out to use some of the money for Lois from Lois in for Bush. And so it was just kind of like a swap for swap. And the project at Lois is still happening. The city of Tampa agreed. I know Johnny as well was part of the conversation. So it was a larger conversation to make something happen that's been going on for 10 years. So
Right. Okay.
it's happening just a little bit longer. And if we can do something and there is some money that's freed up, we have told Johnny, we'll look to try to, pull that in again. Yeah, at a later date.
Because there's a lot of growth along West Shore as well. The West Shore District is experiencing a massive residential growth.
Yes.
And I know Lois has been in the queue for a long time, but I don't refute that Bush Boulevard needs every bit of attention and resource we can give it. So thank you for that. My other question is in the safety allocations. Everybody here may have heard about the fatal crash that happened on Sheldon Road. And that was part of, for my new members on the CAC, the Transportation Planning Organization did a high injury network study 5 or 6 years ago. And that intersection was included as very dangerous. And now a 6-year-old girl has died. So I'm wondering, where do we stand on the high injury network, and do I see any of that study reflected in these safety improvements?
Dan Ziegler, District 7. This might be like a combo of me and Elizabeth. So we did hear about that, and it's definitely something that we brought to all of the MPOs. Just for future planning and trying to bring awareness to those situations and those intersections in order to get the funding for items at that location. I know it's on the High Agree Network. I think, that would be something that we would need to work with Elizabeth with to see, I don't know the jurisdiction, but is it counties? Okay, so, we can talk to the county and ask them like to maybe make it a priority on their behalf, in which we could bring it back, probably May of next year, to vote on like the listing of the, priority list, and then that would be what we would use to fund improvements. So, also, if they do approach us and we have safety money and we're able to do something about it, absolutely, we're happy to help. I think that the conversation has to start really with the TPO. To get the ball rolling, then the county, all of us, I know we have a meeting on the 20th. We have an in-person meeting on the 20th, so Alyssa and I will be there. Healthcare County staff is gonna be there, doing a meet and greet, talking about the priorities that are up and coming. Elizabeth and her team is gonna be there, so that would be an opportunity for us to advocate for that project. And bring that to their attention, that that is a priority, and what are they doing to further make a commitment that that doesn't happen again? So,
Thank you.
I will put it on my list, and I'm sure Elizabeth has it on her list. So, thank you.
I'm not making that.
Christine, are you good for now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions in the room to my left? Stephen Hollenkamp.
Yeah, Alyssa, you mentioned the streetcar extension, removed because of a legislative action. That's interesting. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I don't have any more information other than what I said about like the funding source just being removed through legislative action. Blur again. I know that, okay, so the New Starts program that was funding the streetcar project in a whole was removed based on the legislative action of the last legislative session. And so with that, the money that was allocated was removed from the project. I know that we have had talks with the city of Tampa, and specifically the mayor, Brandon Cable. I know Johnny has been involved, FDOT, and so we're still committed to the project, and so is the city. They're putting together, it seems like a financial plan to how to move forward with the project. So once they come up with their financial plan, we have said, we're happy to come to the table and the TPO too. And try to figure out and align funding opportunities so that we can get this back into the work program based on what their plan is and what their years are and when they'll have the money. So it is something that's being worked on. And it was something that was unfortunate. It was one of the programs that was impacted. The New Starts program and I believe the Transportation Regional Incentive Program were impacted by the dock stamps. So I can get the verbiage that we provided to Johnny and give that to you guys. But yeah, we're still actively having those conversations and, waiting for them to have their plan. But we'll meet again, and I'm sure that we'll be here to discuss it with you guys as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, before you go away, I took a pass on this, but that is a project that's particularly concerning me personally. This runs into hopefully Tampa Heights, and that's where I live. We've been talking about that project now for a long time. So I want to be clear that the funding source, the New Starts program is what you relate to. And this is state money, federal money, a combo of both. Explain that to me.
I believe that the New Starts program funding is state funding. That was my language that I have here is saying that the program funding was removed after the legislative action this past session. So I can go back to my chair and check, but I'm pretty sure that that's state funding because there was some legislative action that was taken in which it impacted how much the department was getting, I believe, in dock stamps, which affected what we program for projects. And I'd have to look back at the legislative. I've seen it, but off the top of my head, don't know. But that program was affected by that.
Elizabeth, did you have something to chime in on?
So like Suzanne mentioned, the doc stamp, the documentary tax that you pay whenever you execute a mortgage. You pay a tax on that, and historically that went into a pot of money for the new starts and the trip. The legislature said no more, that's not going to transportation, so essentially emptied out that pot of money. If you Google it, you'll see Tri-Rail and South Florida is having extreme problems because they relied on that money source, so it's not just us. The only thing I would like to add to that is the streetcar is kind of having to re-envision itself for this project development, the financial plan over the next 12 to 24 months. Because not only did the dock stamp get removed, but they were also removed by the Federal Transit Administration from the capital investment grants. So there was this federal grant that unfortunately we lost, and then that state money to match is also gone. So it's kind of a double whammy hit. So just wanted to provide that context a little bit more about that dock stamp and the impact.
Well, that's clear as mud, but it's the best you could possibly do under the circumstances. That's not a hit. I'm sure this is hard to explain, and it takes more time than what we have here. I'll dig in on my own. Dana?
I have a clarifying question about this as well, just to, so I understand. It sounds like money was removed because there was no money to put into the program. Is that the same thing as the program effectively ending, like actually? Okay.
I've heard that the legislature plans hopes to make a fix because they didn't realize all these transit projects, but who knows what the legislature is going to do.
Just didn't realize. Is that the same at the federal level with that federal capital investment grant? Was that like the Congress just didn't allocate funds this year? They removed the program.
They didn't remove the program, they removed the project because the financial plan had been deferred and deferred and deferred.
Yes.
And FTA said, hey, you know what, we've got too many other projects to get funded. Please reapply when you've got your financial plan in place.
So it's kind of two different things. It was removed from the federal grant, but it was, the program was eliminated at a state level. Thank you.
Okay, I think I saw another hand pop up over here to my left. Chris Fallon?
I don't remember during the Obama era, there was a whole sequestration when that occurred. Is like the federal portion, the federal dollars for this, let's just say rainbows shine, we see uniforms, things get better next day. Is the funding retroactive, meaning that whatever was canceled would just continue on from the past? Or like once it's killed, like.
It's complicated.
Okay.
So you may have been hearing in the news that like projects, if they hadn't executed grant agreement, those were canceled. The way federal transportation usually works, you have a 5-year authorization. So you may have heard something called like the bipartisan infrastructure law or the investment in jobs. So those are still in place until September 30th of this year. So we really shouldn't see big changes. But Congress is currently contemplating the replacement for that authorization.
Okay, any right side, anything? Right. Online, any questions, comments? No hands up? Okay, so we ready to move on to part 2 of this?
Thank you, guys.
And before you start, Elizabeth, is everybody going to stay in the room as we move over to the comment letter? You know, in case we have questions for you all? Okay, great. Go ahead.
Victoria, I will advance your slides as you promised.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I do represent Florida's Turnpike Enterprise. And so we can show you our few slides about the funding of projects in Hillsborough County. So as you see, it consists of about 20 miles that the Turnpike owns in Hillsborough County. So the tolls that are collected are what pay for projects. And the turnpike looks statewide at our needs for a regional network that provides travel regionally through several counties in a limited access facility. So on the next slide, I wanted to highlight for you some of the projects that the toll dollars have been able to fund in your county. These emergency stopping sites. We got a graphic to show you an example. We put 5 into our main line and 7 at ramps. And the intention is to be a refuge area when there is an incident for emergency responders, etc. It's a safety issue. Still working on it. Will be done in July. Then we have a wrong way driving implementation project. And this is to detect folks that got on the wrong ramp and are going into traffic. This will alert people in a variety of ways, and it informs the Florida Highway Patrol. You know, these facilities are all monitored. We have cameras, and they are 24 hours a day that incidents are looked for. So this wrong way driving is another project we'll finish up by the end of December 2025. The next slide will show you our handout. So every district has a summary of our major projects. So for District 7, we see 3 counties. And those counties in Hillsborough, those projects in Hillsborough that we have funded consist primarily of enhancing that Suncoast Parkway 2 by adding new road construction and several different phases. You'll see on page 1 a recap of that. And for the chairman, also on page 1, we have a key to our acronyms so that we can realize that the acronym PE means preliminary engineering, which is a design phase. So all these different projects are broken into phases, and the funding corresponds with that. And it'll also be page 2 showing our summary where Hillsborough has the bulk of the money that we are putting into District 7 in the next 5 years. Happy to say we were able to put in a very large amount of construction funding in the year 2031 that was added to our work program as we analyzed the needs and recognized the rapid growth in this district. The page 3 talks about Citrus County. Page 4 has our highlight on the next slide, where we're showing you a map and a recap of this project. It's intended to increase the number of travel lanes from 4 to 8 lanes. There will also be some improvements at 2 interchanges, Van Dyke Road and Lutz Lake Fern Road. My apology. Those are mileposts 14 and 16. This whole job's about 3 miles. And we're going to total about $277 million to put this improvement into place. We know it will enhance safety. It will enhance our capacity to meet traffic demand for evacuations and simple day-to-day movement, as well as giving our cars a better infrastructure to guide us along. We're going to enhance the markings on the roadway, intelligent signs, things of that nature. Page 5 is Pasco County jobs. Page 6 reflects that we do minor projects as well, paint some bridges, maintain things. My favorite page is 7. I like maps. This is a very good way to see where these are located. And so our improvements at the interchanges for construction are shown on the map. The very last page of this document has projects that we're studying, have not yet funded for construction, but 3 out of the 4 on this list are for Hillsborough County. That will be to move it, Suncoast Parkway, to widen it from Hillsborough Pasco County line, another 2 miles to the State Road 54. And that design project is funded next year, fiscal year, actually 27. And that's $20 million there, as well as a couple resurfacing on Veterans Expressway that has existed long enough to need some resurfacing. The very last slide is our safety message, where we do discuss, I believe this one is the National Teen Driver Safety Week, just passed. If you do know a teen driver, please reinforce how dangerous it can be to pilot a vehicle. And statistically, these are the folks we want to pay attention, teen drivers. They're not as experienced, and we're hopeful this warning will alert them to be careful. Any questions? Come up, let me know.
Okay, sure, there are. On my left, any hands up? Dana Lazarus.
I just want to say that I don't understand how we have $4 million to put like a little bloop next to the road, because there's so many incidences that are destroying people's lives when they get into a wreck. But we don't have, $4 million. $4 million could drastically improve Hart's bus network. And I know that that's a capital project, but I know y'all have way more than $4 million recurring yearly. I guess my question is, do you guys ever invest in any public transit projects with your money?
Well, that's a great question. The Florida statutes regulate how Florida's Turnpike Enterprise operates as a part of FDOT. And so it prioritizes the collection of the tolls, the reinvestment back into the system, maintaining the system. There are no parameters for purchasing vehicles for transit. However, a very important role is to provide an envelope for that transit system. If the system is reliable with its time, we find that people are more encouraged to ride it. So by providing the envelope to let the bus go safely and quickly and in a timely manner, that is the role that the Turnpike has in this transit opportunity at this time. Again, Florida statutes dictating those parameters.
I understand. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Questions, comments to my left? Joe Citro.
Yes, thank you, Joseph Citro, for the record. You're saying that you're putting in security stops for our first responders. They need them for when they're patrolling. How many rest areas are there from Citrus County all the way down to Kennedy Boulevard here in Hillsborough County?
From Citrus County to Kennedy Boulevard.
Yes, how many rest areas are there for people to travel to veterans?
I have taken a detailed note because, sir, I cannot answer that at this moment.
And
we do have a very detailed website and I can research it.
Is there any money that you plan on investing for someone who may need to get off their veterans, whether it be to change a baby's diaper or to just rest so they don't, have to drive fatigue? Is there any money set aside for that?
Great example of what you're indicating, right? To have a rest area. So my job is to research for you what opportunities we've been able to investigate for that. And I can bring it back to the group once our research has been given.
Thank you. I would like that. Even on 75 and I-4, there are rest stops along the way. So I was just wondering, you know, if there was any money set aside for that or any planning. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Any other questions, comments to my left? Carson?
I would just like to agree what Joseph Seco said and just reinforce it. I think that sometimes that is definitely important for rest areas along the highways like the toll road.
Okay, thank
Great
you.
suggestions.
Chris Bella?
Hi, this is Chris. So my question is, since you're looking at the upper Tampa Bay Trail of this study, will you guys be evaluating as a future expansion any connections to the Town and Country Greenway?
Town and Country Greenway.
Yes, that would be like probably maybe 15 minutes south of like the Odessa area where Peterson Road would be.
South of Odessa.
Yeah, there's a greenway basically that hugs a little bit of 589 over there, and that's what I was wondering if there was ever going to be the possibility of looking at an evaluation while you're looking at expanding this trail. I guess my question is, would you be considering or evaluating any southern connection to Hillsborough County or south?
Southern connection to Hillsborough. All right, I'll find out.
Hey, Victoria, it's Suzanne from FUT. I just have
Hi,
one
Suzanne.
question. Maybe, I just want to make sure that I understand. So are you talking about the Upper Tampa Bay Trail in regards to the piece that we're able to fund this cycle?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a DOT question.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So I was like, okay, I'm like trying in my mind. So
Okay.
Victoria, you're good?
No, that's
well,
excellent because we do coordinate.
Yeah, and I know that we were able to get this piece of the Sun Trail connected. That last segment is gonna connect 120 miles when we get this construction. It's been a big win. But if there's another piece that I'm missing, like happy to Alyssa as a Sun Trail coordinator and have discussion about, you know, connecting to another trail.
Yeah.
We are open to talking about it, and, you know, Hillsborough County too, like that would be another opportunity for us to have at our November 20th meeting, you know, trail wise, what they're looking at, means they would have to prioritize it and go through some steps like Plant City is having to do to add segments to that to receive the funding. But you're on the right track, and we're excited that we actually get to close this piece out. So
Yeah.
yeah, just let us know if you have any questions, and we can give you a card and get you the information you need. Sorry, Victoria.
No, it's fine.
Fine.
Okay. Right side of the room? Online? No, nothing up? Okay, thank you. Does that
Thank
now
you.
take us to the letter of comment?
It does.
All right. Just for reference, the letter of comment was part of your agenda package. Hopefully you had a chance to review, maybe even have copies of it. You have something to show on the wall? There you go.
So you've heard from our partners about all the projects that they're working on. So this letter got sent back to DOT for their consideration before it goes to the legislature. I'm happy to share that the content of the letter reflects a lot of the discussion that's already happened in the room. So I'll just give you a high-level summary of some of the points. So the first part of the letter talks about those priority projects that were able to be funded. So it's a cross-section of projects from traffic signals to intersection improvements to continuing our longstanding support of HART's bus replacements and bus stop capital repairs, and another contribution to the heavy maintenance facility. A trail in Plant City, Hannah Avenue, complete streets in the city of Tampa, And like Suzanne mentioned, the big win of getting the Upper Tampa Bay Trail from Peterson Road to Van Dyke Road funded. That was a $11 million award, and to give you context, that pot of money is only like $25 million. So we really, and that's state one. So we really did well there, and are appreciative to our partners at DOT for programming funds to these priority projects. The next paragraph talks a little bit about the importance of bike ped infrastructure, calling out the Upper Tampa Bay Trail construction funding in 2031, but as well as a great story that I think we can tell of the partnership between the TPO board, committees, and DOT of filling sidewalk gaps on that high entry network. So previously, the TPO had access to a pot of funding that has since been rescinded to fill gaps on these high-speed facilities. And we thought once that funding pot went away, that DOT, would say, okay, well, we don't have a pot of funding anymore. But we're very appreciative that they are continuing to use their own state dollars to fill those gaps on on the high injury network that Christine mentioned earlier, to have a safer option for people from walking. So that program persists even though the funding source disappeared. The next paragraph highlights some of the interstate investments. One major one being all the investment along the West Shore interchange, which has recently started construction. But it also calls out the new Moving Florida Forward project that you may have heard about in the news, where the governor announced an extreme acceleration on express lanes on I-4 from I-75 to the Polk County line. Originally, that project was planned to go to construction in like 15 years. Now it is planned to start construction in 2 or 3. So greatly accelerated, and TPO acknowledged that, as well as continuing to remind DOT that Plant City wants to explore a trail overpass for connectivity for their city as they continue to grow, and to continue to preserve the median for passenger rail once that service is available. The next paragraph, like our conversation today, acknowledges the deep loss in the funding for the streetcar project, and encourages DOT and the city and TPO and all its partners to continue to identify alternative pathways and funding sources to deliver this really important project. And the last major point of the letter kind of acknowledges, I think, what was also brought up in the room, where there were a number of projects that were needed to be deferred or removed. We all know costs are out of control. But there are still a few projects that are high priorities for the TPO. The first of which being there was a great overpass, so basically putting a bridge over US 41 over the CSX tracks. That's a really important freight priority, and we encourage DOT to do everything they can to get that project back into work. There are also 2 widenings in the eastern part of the county on MLK and State Road 60 that were either deferred or removed. And those have also been longstanding priorities, and we encourage DOT and our partners to bring those back in once revenues are available. So that's a high-level summary of the letter. When it was shared with you a few weeks ago, the content really hasn't changed. Been a few grammatical things, maybe a few wording, but the content was still there. So what TPO staff is seeking from you today is your recommendation to forward this letter to the TPO board next Monday, so that they can forward it on to District 7 for their consideration before it gets shipped off to the legislature.
Okie dokie. I've got a couple of questions before I throw you to the wild here. On the bullet points that appear on page 1, and then the succeeding paragraph. I'm sure this is just me not understanding something. The second full paragraph says the district's decision to fund 8 of the TPO's priorities is a testament to the supportive relationship. ... I thought that referenced the items directly above it, the bullet point items, but there are 6 bullet point items. So is it 6 or 8, or am I misunderstanding something?
So it's tricky. One of the bullet points is actually multiple projects. Bullet 3 lists all the investments for HART, for bus replacements, and then the extra 2 are bus stop capital repairs and heavy maintenance. So that would bring the total to 8.
In the aggregate, those 6 bullet points are 8 projects. Okay, thank you. Especially for those new to the room, if you could offer the background that explains the last sentence on the first page that carries over to the second sentence on page 2, having to do with the management strategies.
Certainly. I apologize for glossing over that. It's been a long day. There is 2 sentences like the chair called out that reinforces the TPO board as well as this committee's statement to be involved in the lane management strategy once those are determined on I-75. So that is reiterated in this letter. We reiterate it every chance that we get. DOT knows that that's something that we expect. At this point, I don't believe those decisions are being made within this work program. So it's just something to continue to keep the message.
Could you explain further, as if I'm a 6th grader? We speak of lane management strategies. What are we talking about?
Certainly. So there are a number of ways that you can manage a lane. You can do, or in the past, you could do something called HOV, high occupancy vehicles, right? So you have multiple people in a car. The legislature preempted that, so that's not on the table. Another lane management strategy is something like guided merging, where there's like bars that helps people merge onto the interstate. That is helping manage the flow of traffic. And then also a very commonly used lane management strategy is tolling. So paying a fee to use the facility, like Turnpike does on all of theirs.
Okay. And, historically, the discussion has been around the tolling issue more so than anything else. And the question as to what type of tolling, if any, would be instituted at some point in the future. So that's what we're talking about here. And I'm clear, since I know there are FDOT representatives in the room, as of this point in time, there has been absolutely no decision made as to the direction that DOT may want to go with that. Is that correct? It's as much an open question today as it was 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think we talked about it previously at a previous meeting where we're not at the point where we're finalizing or thinking or have a strategy. And it'll be closer to actually like completion. And so I think, for Elizabeth, she's just trying to keep it in the purview for you guys to say hey, want to be involved, this is, the expectation, and just bringing it up to make sure that we're seeing that and it can be referred to hey, we said it here, we said it here, we said it here. So yes, we do not have a strategy. As of right now that I've been told, I can double check. But this is just language that they want to reinforce.
Just a couple more questions before I release to the group. Having flashbacks from last year. Johnny's in the room, so I'm glad he's here. Maybe he can offer some thoughts on this. First of all, is this letter essentially final now?
For all intents and purposes, this is what TPO staff is recommending to the board. It was mailed out in the package. Unless there is something glaring that we missed, I don't believe staff will open this letter. If the CAC wants to make a motion for the board to consider that, I think that would be the best way to do that.
Okay. So if you in fact get recommendations or suggestions from the committee, the best we would hope for would be recommendations to make those additions at the board level, not that staff would make any changes from this point till next week. Is that fair?
The nature of the recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would make, it would depend. If you're like, Elizabeth, you misspelled something or missed this project, then we would huddle internally and see if we could get that in there. But this has gone through all the other committees so far and,
Everybody loved it. I'm sure.
they actually, EPAC, recommended a change, so we added a sentence in there. The TAC on Monday, because it was before board mail out, they asked us to add State Route 60. So things of that nature where like we haven't, like, we should have been included in the original, and is consistent with the direction and the policy that we've heard from our board. Those are the things that we're comfortable making a change to. But if it's very different from that, then it would best include the CAC as a motion.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Questions, comments to my left? Dana Lazarus.
When, I'm probably missed it. Does anyone know when the HOV lanes were removed as an option for managed lanes?
It was a recent legislative session.
And this session as well, probably.
I think my gut was the last one. It's either 24, 23.
Okay, I missed that. I thought of something I wanted to put forward to DOT. Signal prioritization for park buses particularly on state-owned roads like Florida Avenue. Is that something that has been talked about? I wonder how much funding it would even need to just reprioritize signals. I don't know what that requires, if there's some kind of sensor or something.
I'm just gonna tell you that that was a great question. I wish that I had an answer. I'm happy to go back and talk to the transit team. It's not in my wheelhouse, but I know that Jesus is here and I know that they've been working on priorities with this as well. So he might be able to answer some, but I can get you that.
Thank you. Hi, this is Brother Tia Hart. Yes, we've talked with both the city and the county about ESP transit signal priority. The city is working on it right now. They have like a project. I'm not sure the details, technical details, but they're working on it. We touch base with them every month. I think that's one of the things we bring up. We are starting the process with the county. The county wants to do a pilot, which is what we did with the city. Just a couple routes, a couple of roads. Then eventually you get to system-wide, because all you need is communication between the bus and the signal. And both are equipped to do that. You just need to coordinate that.
There's a lot of roads, I don't know the exact number that park buses are on that are state owned, right?
Yes. Plenty. I would need to check. I think the signal controlling is part of city and county. I don't think that control.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. So, there are agreements, and so a lot of the signals, we would need to look, like, if you wanted us to look and you give us the location, we need to look to see who actually maintains the signal. It might be on a state road, but we have an agreement as to who actually maintains that based on its location. And so it makes it a little bit more interesting to figure out, but, I think what you were saying is just maybe having a general conversation about the project and then figuring out where it makes sense to have it and who maintains those and trying to figure out how much it costs to do something like that and then move forward on the project. So.
Awesome, thank you.
If I may, the pilot with the city was Nebraska and Hillsborough, which are both state roads. So I think that answers your question.
Is that a past pilot or a future one?
It happened already. Yeah, we are at this system-wide level now, but there's been some technical complications.
Okay.
Stephen?
Yeah, first, Elizabeth, great job today. Yeah, you communicated, educated well. For the trail overpass from Pine City, I'm curious who initiated that, if the city was behind that, or if that was TPO staff?
City, it was the mayor, and I know they're recently published a feasibility study in the past 6 months, so it is a locally led initiative.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, left side, hands popped. Ms. Bella?
Yes, Ms. Mella, so I wanted to find out who wrote this letter. Yeah, okay. When did you create this letter as this first draft?
First draft was like the day after I received the tentative work program a few weeks ago.
So it's fairly like recent.
Oh,
latest
yes.
Announcements and funding and all that.
Because it's an accelerated year for the work program, so we're kind of like building this plane as we're flying.
And then why do you need a letter? Is it actually mandatory that you have to present a letter to the DOT? Because, you know, we approve things like the TIP and the work program, so is it necessary to send a letter?
It's a great question. I love talking process.
Yeah.
So this is really just like an opportunity for us. I know some MPOs don't. I personally think it's important because this work program is going to become your TIP next year. So this gives DOT a little heads up on project and things. So I personally think it's a good practice to continue.
Okay.
Will it meaningfully change the work program? Probably not.
I have one final question for managed lanes. I watched the press conference, and I think it was Secretary Purdy was talking about utilizing flying cars. Would flying cars be considered as a potential option in managed lanes?
Did you say flying?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's suggested.
Good question. It's not a bad question. I wish I had an answer, but I don't know that that process has been. I haven't been privy to that information, for our team about the flying cars. It's, for us, I think it would be too early to say if that would be a strategy. However, I'm happy to run this back and try to see what I can find out, you know, because I think the strategy of the flying car is new to everyone at the DOT. So we're all kind of learning. I guess I just didn't think of it like that. So, but yeah, no, I will write that down and we'll see what we can figure out. I'm not sure that we have an answer, but
I mean, I guess, right, like we supported the managed lane. Because it is in the right way. So that would be, it would also be inclusive. So a train would be as much as a flying car would be, as much as like toll lanes would be. So we really don't know.
really don't. I
There's
think
the
the answer.
commitment here of thanks to something that doesn't exist.
Well, I think that managed lanes as a strategy has and is evolving, and I'm not sure that it includes those items at this present moment, like for me to like different, you know, stand here and defend something. But I'm, again, happy to go back to the district and, you know, we have we're in modal development and we're happy to go have a conversation to see if this is something that was even thought of, you know? So, I applaud you on, that is very, I'm a little flustered right now because I'm like, I don't know. But definitely, yeah, we'll look into it and get back to you and we'll provide that back to, you know, Elizabeth and Sarah. And so that can be dispersed to, the committee as a whole.
And express lanes are allowed in Pittsburgh County, is that correct?
I cannot speak to my knowledge of that off the top of my head either. I wish that I could, but I cannot.
So TPO staff, they're not allowed in Pittsburgh County or are they?
I mean, they're already express lanes in Hillsborough County, so I don't think there's a.
For veterans, right?
Veterans, and then.
But that's
Dominant.
separate.
It's a separate.
That's actually.
Exactly.
I'm talking actually on actual interstate system that is funded by the federal government, again, correct? So do we have are we authorized to have express lanes on I-275 and I-4? Because the letter does touch on this, on that corridor. So I'm just trying to get clarification before we do a motion on this.
Actually, I can move one. So you're asking if the board has a policy prohibiting express lanes? Is the I-4 express lanes project?
Okay, hold on.
Johnny Wong,
Yeah.
CPO director.
All right, let's try to maintain some kind of order. Director, go ahead.
If we're a little flummoxed at the line of questioning and what the intention is, are you asking if any local governments have a policy prohibiting use of express lanes?
I'm just asking if Hillsborough County allows express lanes in I-275 and I-4.
With Hillsborough, if you're talking about Hillsborough County proper, that really wouldn't be within their purview to decide.
So you guys don't have any purview on I-275 line.
Talking about Hillsborough TPO or Hillsborough?
Hillsborough TPO.
Lake Road TPO, what we've been discussing is that we would like to be a party to the conversation about the toll management, the lane management strategy, and have input on what that process looks like, if the decision is.
So what that's saying, we are saying that doesn't, it's like you can toll as a lane management strategy. That means it's possible. Correct?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay, so we could be told next month if there was a decision.
No, there are state policies that guide which lanes can be tolled at the state level. So it's new capacity, new lanes that are added to interstate that are able to be tolled. And then if you're adding capacity that is able to be tolled, a specific strategy is determined by DOT central office. Of course, they would take the local government's opinions and preferences into consideration. But according to the state statute, it is the state function to determine what that strategy is.
Okay, so it's okay. We need to move on to the other side. Right side, any questions or comments? Dustin?
Well, this goes back to your comment, Rick, the fact that I don't know if we can add anything to this letter, but I would like to see, based off of what I heard earlier this evening from Toll Express Authority up off of Veterans Expressway, the fact that I think it's now that we need to start pushing our state, these toll authorities that have this money to start researching and looking at planning for some other form of transportation, primarily rail. Because imagine if we could have a rail line coming down Veterans, somehow get it to connect across to downtown, and if Brightline eventually comes in, we literally have a huge means of mode of transportation that can move people off the surface streets onto rail cars with quick transportation out there. I know I suggested to, I forgot her name, about why isn't transportation expressway authority, TIA, looking into this because they're planning on extending this element all the way down into South Hillsborough County. Why can't they start looking at putting in a rail service into downtown from that area too? I wish we could add this in here if it's possible, because we're already recommending to the state to, hey, keep preserving that median for rail service, which more likely is probably going to go to Brightline. So I can't really recommend that they start researching how planning for capabilities used along entities that are already in existence, instead of adding additional lines, to start looking at putting in a rail service somewhere.
Well, if I may, to that comment, well taken. We have not been told that we are powerless to make motions and recommendations, so the letter may be as close to final as it's going to get right now, and maybe we can't get them to make any changes. But them, I mean the TPO staff, but if we want to make recommendations for changes to the TPO board, we can make motions as we do every time we have a meeting, and if the motion passes, it'll go to the board as a recommendation. So, be writing your motion down, thinking about how you will style it. Right side of the room, Jamie?
So is the only thing in here about the turnpike, the one line that says we thank the department for its commitment to invest in the interstate system by fully funding and delivering the West Shore interchange safety improvements?
There are no comments on the Turnpike's work program. There's been, to answer your question directly, no.
So no.
No, it's mostly on the DOT one.
And is that because the turnpike is its own entity with like we have really nothing that we can tell the turnpike, right?
But we could, if the CFT wanted to make a motion to add something, they only have just a little bit of a line. They have the veterans. It hasn't come up in a lot of our project identifications or needs, so that's why it wasn't included. There wasn't really a substantive comment to add in, but if you have thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, kind of echoing the undertone, maybe a little bit of like, turnpike, use your money for anything else.
People, not just cars.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. They have $277 million that is going to go from 4 lanes to 8. It hurts. So that's my comment. Thanks. That sucks. I'm new here, sorry.
No, it's all right. You're expressing an age-old opinion. Christine?
Christina Costa, the West Shore interchange is being shown as having express lanes. I saw a presentation today, and so it is being shown, yes, having express lanes. So as far as the methodology or what's likely happening, I mean, I think it's writing on the wall, but not writing in writing.
Okay. Any other questions or comments in the room? Anything online? Hands up online? I can't see anything. Oh,
I'm not seeing any.
I don't even know who's still online. All right, okay. Well, I guess we're to the enabling motion, if there is to be one or any others. The recommended action, can you put the ask slide up, or do you have one?
I apologize, I don't have one.
Okay, well, the recommended action is on the agenda package item for this. It's recommend the TPO board transmit. Okay, I didn't write this. Okay. All right, recommend the TPO board transmit the letter of comment on the FDOT and FTE tentative work programs. All right, is there an enabling motion? Chris Vella has a motion.
Yes,
Well, I gotta wait till I hear it to know if there's.
yes, this is Chris Vella making a motion for the TPO board to not transmit letter of comment to FDOT, FTB tentative work programs. Because we just don't know what the managed lanes are gonna be. And because we had discussion here that we found that there's basis.
Okay, that's the motion. Is there a second? Did everybody hear the motion? Yeah, is there a second? Okay, I don't see a second in the room. The motion fails for lack of a second. Again, is there another motion?
Motion.
Dana Lasmus.
I would like to motion, since there were 3 comments, probably a couple more sentiments, that you include in the letter, and you can make this inclusion, it's substantive, that we suggest that the Turnpike Authority look into research, however you want to word that, how they can begin to fund rail and other mode options, not just through the envelope, but through investment in capital assets or something to that effect.
Okay, I'm gonna give you about 30 seconds to rethink that and ask you to try to restate it. Would you please?
The TPO board added to the letter that the TPO board recommends to the Turnpike Authority looking into funding non SOV modes with their money.
I think you're on the right track.
Non-SOV is great. I like that term for sure.
Non-single occupant vehicles for folks.
Okay, everybody,
Transportation.
did everybody hear and understand the motion? See heads nodding. Is there a second to this motion?
I would love to second.
Right, Jamie, I'm sorry, last name Jones. Jamie Jones offers the second. Is there a discussion on the motion? Okay, Susie?
Susie Watts, quick comment. They earn their money for every car on the highway. So I understand that they only want to expand the highway to get more cars, to get more money. But you cannot pave our way out of our growth. We need a multimodal system, so I really like that addition.
Exactly.
Okay, Carson?
I was just saying that with the motion that we have, you place emphasis on non-single occupancy vehicles, which, I was just inquiring as to what else you had in mind besides, rail transit, or if you did have anything else in mind besides rail transit, like for HOV lanes or.
I feel like non-SOV makes sense because I wouldn't want to limit it to just rail. There's also buses, bus rapid transit, regional bus transit. There's the Suncoast Parkway as an example of like a bicycle, facility. And who knows? Not helicopters, but, who knows what else, and I would also include carpooling. So it's not a single occupant vehicle, that is a.
Van pooling.
Yeah, van pooling.
Okay, continuing discussion on the motion. Mr. Citro.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Judge Seeker for the record. Mr. Lazar, great adding that in. Can you put a little bit more bite to that? As in saying something maybe to the effect of, this board is going to agree with this at this time. However, between now and your next ask, we recommend something to that effect, asking them to do something they can kind of, okay, fine, but something with a little bit more bite. We'll do it this time, but next time come to us with alternative forms. I'm just making a suggestion, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ms. Lyon.
Chris Vella?
I don't think it's a good motion only because Turnpike in 1986, 1987, they wanted to actually have rail. We've done rail plans actually going up that corridor. In fact, it was a carrot and stick approach to what FDOT's doing right now with 27594 with the corridor. They promised that we were supposed to get rail or transit. They didn't include it, and then they built the whole thing. So I don't remember why I killed legislation. It's a long time ago. So they've already been there and done that, and this letter is mandatory. So I'll just leave it at that.
Chair, if I may, offer my thoughts before this conversation becomes a long conversation. I would not recommend adding that language to the letter because it is clear in state statute why Turnpike Enterprise is not allowed to operate transit. The statutes that apply to the Turnpike are very clear. Operate, maintain, expand its facilities, and transit operations is not a part of that. Now, I understand the concern and understand why I want Turnpike to operate transit. We support multimodal travel as well, but that's more of a legislative matter. If you wanted to express your desire to have Turnpike be allowed to do that, I would say take it up with a state rep or a state senator. And that's also a policy position that the TPO board may take up at a later time, but for this letter of comment, I think that's kind of inappropriate.
Jamie?
I'm sorry, can I add? Is it just that they can't operate the transit or they can't create the path and then have a second party operate the transit?
Good question. So transit operations on the Turnpike system would require coordination across multiple counties, not impossible to do, but the transit operators cut across counties in our area. So that would be one challenge. And if you're talking about fixed guideway transit, it's not within department, District 7 or Turnpike capabilities to offer that kind of system. You're talking about operating a rail along Veterans Expressway, that's like pie in the sky. A lot of things need to happen at state level, local level, funding. Just we're talking about an entirely new way of operating transportation. I'm not trying to discourage that as a policy position. I'm just saying that that's a totally separate conversation than the letter of comment.
Christina Costa?
I appreciate all the dialogue we're having here. Again, Dr. Moore, your words are important about like, why would we say something if we know as a matter of state record we can't? Well, I still support the motion because unless we are heard and the term SOV surfaces, I don't think the effort is futile. I don't think it's gonna change the world or how this letter is perceived or even structured, but I support the motion as it's stated. Because I think it's important for the CAC to be able to convey, as Dana said, across lots of persons chiming in, we're frustrated that these facilities have so much money and land use for a very ineffective mode of transportation, which is single occupancy vehicles. So I think that is important, even if it's futile or from a state legislature.
Could I make a suggestion and offer that you could approve the letter of comment as presented and request that the TPO board send independent correspondence to the Turnpike Enterprise asking them to investigate what abilities they have to change their enabling legislation so that you do communicate the message, but it's not part of the letter of comment.
Justin?
No comment. I'm talking, it's gonna just turn into fire, so I'm not gonna go there.
Okay,
I'll say. I wonder if we could even say something like, so we talked about, emergency pit stops for, emergency management. We talked about rest stops. What about park and ride? Something that will at least support transit within the city or urban core, right? A little bit in terms of like, oh yeah, at least you can do a park and ride on,
So
that's,
No, I appreciate the comment, but just a reminder, we have a motion on the floor. It's been seconded. We're having discussion on the motion. A motion either has to be voted up or down. And what you just suggested may well be the subject of an amended motion, if you want to try to make that. I hope you don't, because that's going to give me a headache. Or you can make another motion after we litigate this one. It'll just be a fresh motion out the box. That said, Dana, is the original movement.
or I can revise it, right?
Sure, you can withdraw your motion and make a new one.
What you're saying is what Jamie said is in the spirit of my motion. The spirit of my motion is for the Turnpike Authority to simply look into how it can spend its money on non-SOB facilities, programs, marketing, the van pool, there's van pool programs that exist, for example. And to explore those options. Victoria made it sound like it sounded like they're not allowed to spend money on buses. Maybe I misheard that. But I just feel like there might be a question in terms of interpretation of the statute, for one. And then for two, some creative ways to do this through this like existing rules. So I just wanted to say that, and I feel like that's already like captured in the motion that I made, which is kind of vague already.
I want to remind you folks, we need to go home at some point tonight. We're already beyond the hour that we have allotted for this time. We try to get out of here by 8. So, Stephen?
Yeah, just clarifying, are you saying that approval of the motion, that we're approving the motion, but then this is our additional comment? Or is approval of the motion conditional upon this being included in the letter?
I would like to be included in the letter. So it's a recommendation to the TPO to change the letter to include this.
Josie?
I'll make it very quickly, Mr. Chair. Mr. Wong, can you come back up, please? And as you're coming up, I need some clarification. And I understand that the Turnpike Authority and or is not responsible for transportation, bulk mass transportation. Correct? However, if this board in the future were to say, okay, you want another mile of highway, you want another mile of toll road, we want to suggest for that mile, you set aside a dedicated right of way for either steel wheel or rubber wheel to try and in the future, if some other organization wants to do public mass transportation, whether it be Citrus County, Hernando County, Pasco County, or Hillsborough County, that right of way, that dedicated lane will be there. Can we make that, not that I want to say anything more in your motion, in the future, can we make that statement? For every mile of road, every mile of tow, we want dedicated right of way for either steel wheel or rubber wheel. Can we make that statement?
Joe and committee members, you're free to make that statement. You're free to offer that. I think it's very unreasonable to assume that Turnpike would fund additional right of way. They're funded by toll collection to limit the number of vehicles operating in that right of way units of their own budget. I don't suspect that Turnpike would ever do that. And so I appreciate the spirit. I don't think that's realistic.
Well, go ahead, Mr. Chair, I'll make that later.
Let's bring this back, all right? You've got a motion. We need to, let's discuss the motion. If you have something to say relevant to the motion on the floor, I'll recognize you. Carson, something to the motion, please.
It is to the motion. The motion, as I understand, it talks about the FTE. And I was wondering if maybe through proposing a new motion or amending it, we could talk about cooperation between the TPO and the FDOT, not the FTE, because it seems to me that the FDOT has more jurisdiction to work with, no?
Just the fact that this is specifically about the express route, which is that the FTE owns, not that the DOT owns.
Okay, Dustin?
So I do support this motion. The fact of the matter is based upon what Dana referred to, what the lady from the Transit Authority stated in there, that they're responsible for looking at the whole envelope. I don't know if then what we need to get is a definition of what that whole envelope entails. Because I don't think that was defined in any discussion that I've heard so far. When I hear the word envelope, well, to me, but from a transportation perspective, that includes anything related to transportation line, not just asphalt. And so I support this motion wholeheartedly. And I think that it needs to be included in there because the one thing that people understand is they have a hole, okay, all these toll roads have a hole, and they're in the pocketbooks or the legislators in the pocketbooks of the authorities because the toll rates go up every year. It's legislated into the Constitution of Florida that they go up by, I think it's 1% or 10% every single year. And so to me, it's like, that's just a money fund coming in constantly. And so I just think we need to include it.
Okay. I'm almost afraid to ask. Is there any comment online? All right, I'll bring this in for a landing date. I'm going to ask you one more time, please, to state your motion as concisely as possible. Go ahead.
I motion to recommend to the TPO board to include in the letter a recommendation to the FTE to look into how it can fund remedial and or accommodate non-SOV transportation nodes.
There was a second originally by Jamie. That second still stands.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to do this by roll call.
That's fine.
All right. Call the roll, please.
Rick Fernandez,
Yes.
Stephen Hollenkamp,
No.
Dana Lazarus,
Yes.
Susie Watts,
Yes.
Joseph Citro.
I wish you would have had more fight, but yes.
Christina Costa,
Yes.
Matt Sink.
Matt doesn't have a vote.
I'm sorry,
He's
Matt,
out of
yep,
the room.
correct, thank you. Is Brandon Nagoyan in the room today?
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you. Andrew Marchetti,
No.
No, thank you. Alan Schechter,
Abstain. Not allowed to abstain. If you're in the room, welcome, please. No.
I'm sorry, Alan, that was a no.
Yes.
Thank
It
you.
was a no.
It was a no.
Got it, thanks. Chris Vella,
No.
Chris Gonzalez,
No.
Dustin Johnson,
Yeah.
Ivia Adams,
Yes.
Stephen Paul Jones,
No.
Carmayata Alexander,
Sorry, who?
is Carmayata there?
No. No.
Thank you.
No, not here.
Clifford Reese,
No.
Carson Bush,
Yes.
Jamie Jones.
Yes.
Motion passes 9-6.
I have 9-7. Either way it passes, but
You may have thought that I was not in the room when I said no. I count.
maybe. Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes.
Now, we still have the original ask. Recommend to the TPO board that they transmit a letter of comment to FDOT. Is there going to be an enabling motion on that?
Make a motion, we accept that.
All right,
Stephen Jones.
Stephen Jones moves to recommend the letter of comment. Is there a second?
I second.
Stephen Hollenkamp moves this or offers the second. Is there discussion on the motion? See no hands up in the room. Okay, any hands online? Okay, let's go ahead and do the roll again.
Rick Fernandez,
No.
Stephen Hollenkamp,
Yes.
Dana Lazarus,
Yes.
Susie Watts,
Yes.
Joseph Citro,
Yeah.
Christina Costa,
Yes.
Alan Schechter,
Yes.
Chris Vella,
Nope.
Chris Gonzalez,
Yes.
Dustin Johnson,
Yes.
Ivia Adams,
Yes.
Stephen Paul Jones,
Yes.
Clifford Reese,
Yes.
Carson Bush,
Yes.
Jamie Jones.
Yes.
The motion passes 13-2.
My name is called. Yeah.
Andrew Marchetti's name was not
I'm
called.
sorry, Andrew.
Thought I was in here for the first roll call.
Okay, and your vote?
No, or, yes.
Okay, so your vote is a yes, is that correct?
Yes, he said yes.
Yeah.
All right, so the count is 14-2.
Correct.
Motion passes. Okay. Next time we have to deal with a letter of comment, I'm not coming to the meeting. All right, that's not our last action item.
No. I do, it's very quick, and we don't need to bring it up, but we'll need you to review and approve the 2026 calendar. Every meeting is the first Wednesday, except for November, kind of was a little quirky because it's Veterans Day and the TPO needs to change theirs. So yours will be on it's a Monday, actually. So everything else during the year is as normal, except for that November.
And I assume all the new people know what our schedule is before you apply and accept. Yeah? No surprises? First Wednesday of the month, 6 p.m. to 8, hopefully. Okay.
Mr. Chair, are we no longer doing the TAC-CAC joint meeting?
We're not going to do that this year.
Okay.
We're not doing it this year, 2025, and it's not scheduled for 26 items.
A little more.
Okay.
Just curious. Snacks and holiday treats if you would like to get the stuff.
I like to like the TAC.
All right.
Okay.
That ends our action item list. Oh, yeah. Is there a motion to approve the calendar?
So moved.
All right, a whole bunch of people like your calendar. Dana offers a second. I'll take, Joe as the original movement. Dana is the second. One thing we do this by acclamation. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? All right, that can be unanimous. Thank you. We now move to status reports. Now we are 15 minutes from 8 p.m. You have some idea as to how long these are actually going to take?
It's 10 minutes.
10 minutes each?
August.
Okay, well, we can barrel on through, but let me just say this. I have been laser focused on respecting everyone's time on this committee. We usually get out of here within 10 minutes either way of 8 p.m. That may not be the case tonight. But know that all of our action items are behind us. We don't have to have quorum for the balance of the meeting. So if your schedule requires you to leave with all grace, right? If you can hang around for the whole thing, great. I'm sure you'll be improved by the experience. But our business, as far as the quorum is concerned, is concluded. And for those presenters that are in the room, just please try to expedite as best you can, all right? All right, so status reports. 8 Alpha, Park Transit Development Plan, 2026.
Yes, good evening, CAC. Thank you for having me. Council President here, hard staff. I'm shooting for 5 minutes. Let's see how that goes.
God bless you. All right.
Well, let's see how it goes. Today I will present the Transit Development Plan Annual Progress Report for the 10-year period from fiscal 26 to 35. Last month, I talked your ears off about the comprehensive operational analysis for COA, and I teased the TDP. Well, this is the yearly annual progress report. The TDP, what I was teasing last month is the major update, which is coming up next week. Okay, there we go. Transit Development Plan, what is it? It's a multi-year financial and operating plan for a transit agency. FDOT requires this for providers receiving state funding. Major updates are required every 5 years. Right now, we're in our 3rd annual progress report, which are required in intermediate years. Following this report, we'll be start working on our next major update, which is due in March of 27. So these are the requirements of a TDP annual progress report. We looked at past year's accomplishments and how they align with the regional plan. We have the opportunity to make any revisions to the plan, and we add the new 10th year, kind of similar to the TIP and the work program we had the new last year, and the financial and implementation plans. So the TDP rule changed last year, and there were 2 major changes. One was the submittal deadline. It was pushed from September to March to align with the budget season better. And the second was the revised rule requires enhanced collaboration with the MPOs, which is why I'm here today. But also, even before the rule change, Hart already did a fairly good job of coordinating with the TPO. As mentioned, we look at some of our accomplishments. I'm going to touch on some of those right now. One of our major successes this year was the fare-free Route 1 pilot with improved frequency on weekdays, funded by the city of Tampa. This was corridor was selected because it's the highest ridership route and top priority for future BRT service. Daily ridership has grown significantly thanks to the fare-free. For 2026, the fare is coming back, but the city has improved then maintaining the weekday frequency and improving frequency on evening and weekends. Another major effort is the COA. I think I already bored you to death with this. I'm going to skip this slide for now. If you have any questions, you can ask me at the end. We have also a lot of outreach efforts we've conducted over the past year. Some examples are the summer youth presentations, flamingo fairs, paper pass illumination, hurricane preparedness, and the proposed service changes that I talked about last month. Another major project, and maybe our biggest project, is the heavy maintenance facility, which is funded through phase one. Phase one will include a new police service facility, security fencing, lighting, and stormwater improvements. So now let's talk a little bit about transit needs. In terms of funded service, the financial plan includes maintaining existing service as well as around one frequency improvement that I mentioned, thanks to City of Tampa funding. This slide says pending because when the slides were published, the resolution hasn't been passed, but since that, City Council passed the resolution and that funding is happening. On the capital side, we have the following funded needs: heavy maintenance facility phase one, replacement of buses and vans, refurbishment of streetcars, and the CAC project. Only phase one is funded, as I mentioned. Phase two remains the biggest unfunded need, which is a great segue into the unfunded part of the presentation. In terms of operating unfunded needs, we have frequency improvements on most routes. As a reminder, 2/3 of our routes run every hour right now. Of those on this slide, the only one funded is Route 1. And you know, it's not like a broken record, but that's all thanks to the City of Tampa. Lastly, next steps. The TDP annual progress report was approved by the Hard Board on Monday, 2 days ago. So it's hot off the press. Next step is to submit it to the FDOT by March. So I got plenty of time to not forget about it. Continue coordination with the TPO and other agency partners, and lastly, kick off a major update, which we'll be working on next year. With that, I thank you for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions. Okay, that was 4.5.
Very good. All right, that gives us 30 seconds for questions and comments. Left side of the room. I'm only kidding. Left side of the room? No. Right side of the room? Hands up, questions, Jamie?
Route 15 down Columbus, is that not a priority? And what did I miss?
Great question. So the TDP major update that was done in 2022 is going to be refreshed next year. And I think as part of that, we'll might bring Route 15 back. Route 15 has been identified in other plans, but it's not in the same region yet.
Would love to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. See nothing else in the room. Is there anybody online? No. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesus.
All right, 8 Bravo, intersection collision avoidance safety program. Angela Rao? Hi, how are you?
Well.
Identify yourself, please.
Yes. So I'm Italian. It takes me 5 minutes just to say good evening on a Saturday. So it's gonna be a tough one. I'll do my best. Angela Rao, like the pasta sauce without the money. So I missed it by 1 chromosome, but here I am. So I'll be talking about this issue of red light running, prevention of crashes. That's the issue here. So I'll be doing my best to rush through this as quickly as I can. You know the title. We don't need to go there. I do want to tell you a quick story why this is here. This is my story. That was my Honda Fit on the screen. So here I am going to work in Lakeland, manager of traffic operations for the city of Lakeland, 2015 and 2021. Minding my own business, stopped at a red light. I get a polite beep. So somebody count with me. That's 1.5 seconds. Usually people wait about 1.5 seconds to be polite and beep. So 1.5 seconds is gone. I'm already in park because I dropped something in my car, so I went to pick it up. Got the polite beep. Oh my gosh, moved. Another 0.5 second. We're up to what now? 2 seconds so far. Foot on the brake, shift, park. Another seconds. We're up to about 3. Moving forward. I get to Oh, yeah, there we go. Perpendicular to me, there's a fully loaded beer truck going westbound on George Jenkins, US 92. And remember, we're at 4 seconds already, right? My green light has gone on for 4 seconds. And I finally make it into the intersection. And this guy misses me by 1 meter, 3 feet. The only reason why I'm here tonight, I believe, is because I got my brakes redone the week before. Somebody in the universe says this wasn't my time. That's all it was. So that's the only reason why I'm here tonight. So when you're gonna get hit in a Honda Fit at 55 miles per hour and a loaded beer truck, I'm not gonna be here. So, but I am. So it was meant to be to do something about this. And I thought, well, maybe I can do something about it on the matter of transportation, maybe something I can do. I don't know. We'll see. So I started thinking about it. And now this is 23 data. At the time, it was 2019. And you can see that almost 1,100 people are killed in red light running crashes. And over almost 140,000 people are seriously injured in red light running crashes. That means that in Hillsborough County, roughly speaking, subject to a more thorough analysis, about 10 people a week are hurt somehow in Hillsborough County because of red light running crashes. On average, I mean, statistically speaking, that could be proven, of course, with a major comprehensive study. So I'm going to show you 3 particular cases. This is one case. Let's see if I can get it to work. And again, I'll be respectful of your time. Do the best I can. So this is real footage. Yeah, so that was a Starsky and Hutch move from red light runners. Here's another one. It's a bigger intersection, you see. Red, 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 red. Remember the count? Red, 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 red. Okay. Now the point of this one that I really wanted to make out, notice at the bottom right, there was a bicyclist that did the right thing. He dismounted and became a pedestrian. Now, if any one of those vehicles missed by, say, a half a second, I think the conversation would have been quite different. I'm sure you can imagine, including that pedestrian. Had a second or even a half a second of off time had occurred. And now this one, I'm going to warn you, this is a little bit more graphic. Nobody got hurt, thank goodness, but it is more graphic. I just want to warn you. So yellow, red. Oh, we got a runner there. Red, 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 red. Right. Luckily, it was a minor crash with a T-bone. Nevertheless, this happens all the time. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So the question that I posed was, what if we could predict it? What if we could say, oh my gosh, Fred or Ethel is going to run the red light. I know that for sure. And so I begged the question and found out that, hey, maybe we can do that and then actually delay the perpendicular green. And that's where the system comes in. So very, very quickly, we predict, we verify, we extend, we resume normal operations. I'll just go through this very quickly. You can see what I'm talking about here. It's pretty basic. We sense, we warn, and we had a special case at City of Lakeland where we also included, as you can see there, a warning system on, my phone's over there, on other devices. So you get a message that, hey, a red light run is about to occur, stand back. Now, of course, they're already stopped at a red light, so chances are it's okay. But with the conversation earlier, pedestrians on their phone, bicyclists on their phone, if they get that message, then they would be warned as well. So it's pretty cool. There were 4 intersections originally included in this program, and this is how it basically works. So you have a controller, we have a sensor, we get the message, we get the extension, there's 3 seconds, and the red goes to green in the perpendicular direction. It's really, really quick how it works. Is it new? No, it's not new. My gosh, we didn't go rogue. This has been in the books really since, at least that I'm aware of, since 2012. And I confirmed it just last week to make sure that I was talking turkey here, that it is still in the METCD. And in fact, it says, I'll blow it up real quick, duration of red clearance interval may be extended. Detection of a vehicle that is predicted to violate the red signal indication. Basically, IPAS. Exactly what I just said a couple of minutes ago. Here's some other examples. I'm not going to bore you with the examples. I just want to let you know this is real and happening around certainly Lakeland. We had it tested at Pearl, that's the Traffic Engineering and Research Lab in Tallahassee. District 1 was our partner, and they supported us with the whole thing, and we got it approved, and so we were able to go to a full testing period. We were only allowed to do it for data only and not actual implementation. That came later. And this is interesting. Have you ever been in a government project of one form or another and gotten unanimous support on any subject? I don't think that's ever happened since the beginning of time. This one did, except for one little tiny detail. The comment was, aren't you going to be rewarding bad behavior? Because if people figure it out, then they'll just go run red lights rampant. Because they'll go, oh, don't worry about it. They've got an extension. It's their extra second. What's to worry about? Well, no, because what we did was we implemented the system where we already had red light running cameras in place. So you're going to get a fine anyway. And then this is just going to help actually reduce the potential of a near miss or worse, crash, as you saw earlier. So I'll go real quick through this stuff. I'm not even going to bore you with this. This is just showing the indication. Every dot is a car that got counted through the intersection. So here's what one, I do want to spend a moment on this. Almost 100%, 99.71% of drivers either go through the green or the yellow. Mostly behave themselves, okay? They really do. On the other hand, with that only 0.29%, it worked out to be about 50, almost 50 vehicles a day ran the red after the green light went on in the perpendicular direction. Every single day, one little intersection. So, and I admit it, I probably run red lights. I'm not going to stand up here and say that, you know, that I'm wonderful. I never do that. Of course I do. We probably all did it from time to time. I just want to demonstrate to you that this is the numbers after the green light went on in the opposite direction. We got some grant funding. I applied for a grant. We got a $500,000 award to expand the system, which is pretty cool. Went from 4 to 25. There's the 4, and we went to 25 intersections. As you can see, the vast majority of them are on state roads. So we partnered with District 1 and Tallahassee to be able to do this. And it's very well received. Except I always seem to miss the fun in projects. So after I left, the city, along with District 1 and all the law enforcement agencies, got together and actually deliberately ran red lights at 3 o'clock in the morning last year. Of course, you know, blocked off with cops everywhere, just to see if the system really did work in real life from a human perspective. And more importantly, as I mentioned a moment ago, that the connected autonomous vehicle component worked. That is, that the laptop that folks had and iPads got the message in a timely fashion. It used to be back in 2019, the latency was too long. It was like more than milliseconds. We needed to get it into microseconds, and it worked. So it's pretty cool. So what's the next steps? They're going to continue with the collection of data. Of course, unfortunately, with COVID, that put a kibosh on a lot of things. So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of data right now, but now it's coming back to life again. Before and after crime studies, near misses. I think you heard somebody else talk about near misses earlier in another presentation. It's very important. I want to thank Stephen Davis from District 1, Teresa Schwartz, my successor over at the city of Lakeland, and of course Dan Pressler, who's with Vi, but also at the District 1 headquarters. And with that, I do have to say one little thing. I didn't put it in here, but I always like to end my presentations with, please, courtesy, most safety, please give pedestrians and bicyclists a break whenever you can. Look out for them. I'd really appreciate that. With that, there you go. Thanks. Good amendment. I accept that amendment for that motion. With that, I'd be glad to take any questions or maybe any exploratory thoughts you may have. Or, sorry, I made it 7 minutes, so best I can do. Any thoughts or comments? Budgetary
comments, Dana?
So I personally don't like red light cameras. Every time I've gotten a red light camera ticket, it was not warranted, and there was no way for me to fight it. So in my mind, running the red light is probably an accident, like they weren't paying attention. Or they had some perception that it was going to be safe for them. because maybe there's nobody around or something. I feel that, like, psychologically, let me back up. I think that this technology would be good anywhere, regardless of whether or not there was a red light camera, because it's purely about like protecting the bicyclists and pedestrians. I don't think people are going to run more red lights because this technology exists, because it is unsafe to run a red light, like you could crash into somebody, die. Again, unless it was an accident. So I don't quite understand the connection, or like why there needs to be a connection between the red light camera and this technology.
Yeah, great question. As you can see on the board, we only had 11 intersections that had red light running cameras, and you can see there are 25 on the board of this type of project, this type of program involved. The only reason why we went with the original 4 being at red light running camera locations, I wanted to absolutely categorically prove beyond a shadow of doubt that the data was mirrored by a visual confirmation with the video cameras. That's all. That was the only reason. No other reason. It was not a criteria for future development. As you can see, with only 11 cameras.
That's a lot of cameras.
No, those are not cameras.
Okay.
We only have 11. 11 cameras and 25 sites that have this program. So once we satisfied that the system works, we didn't need the cameras to back up the system. Yeah, but great question. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Chris?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is Chris. So you only are looking at this from major roads, not like something more neighborhood based that could be maybe 4 lanes max. Like,
Actually, 2 of the 25 are on local roads. The 2 that are right on top of Stevens Head. Near my model, Stevens.
let me clarify, like, speed limits below 35. Like,
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
So I wanted just to get your opinion. I want to pick your brain.
Sure.
Because I run red lights a lot when I'm on the bicycle. I do what's called Idaho stop. And it's really because I have to negotiate some really complex intersections. And sometimes when I have a thunderstorm with lightning bolts behind me, where it's really, really hot, it's unfavorable conditions, I want to kind of get ahead of the traffic. I don't want to have stacking, which is when you have a lot of car collection intersections. So I just wanted to kind of get your own thoughts. Like, do you believe that Idaho stops are valuable, or why not? I mean, would they work here?
If you don't mind, Mr. Vella, can I answer the question that's on the screen there? I zoomed by it quickly. I know we were short on time.
Yeah.
But so one of the applications of the system was to, in this case, a systemic subsystem that helped extend the operation for bicyclists if there wasn't enough time, if they were detected and there wasn't enough time to get to the intersection, then their agreement would extend it.
Okay.
So so kind of your question in the sense that the technology allows all kinds of combinations and permutations depending on how you want to apply it.
Yeah.
So I know it's not quite your question, but I do want to, I know I just zoom by that real quickly, but I thought I'd go back for a minute. It kind of touches on your question that there are other operational opportunities for these types of systems.
Okay, cool. That's a nice consideration.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right side?
I mean, this is a great system. Appreciate the presentation. But I do have to say that implementing the system, you also have to implement a form of punishment for that person that's running the red light. Because if we're not punishing somebody who's violating the law, then all we're doing is emphasizing that violation mentality of I can continue to violate the law. And around here, people drive as crappy as they do because there's no implementation. And so I look at this system, it's great for safety. From my perspective, I also see it as, well, maybe this is also saving all the insurance companies money from having to dual out repairs and all that, you know? And it's kind of astronomical seeing that what you got for your graphics that, you know, you basically had close to almost 10,000 people running red lights over that period of time that you put out there in that graph. That's, I mean,
it's a big number.
It's a big number, especially around Lakeland. I mean, Lakeland's not as big as the Tampa Metroplex. I mean, so.
Yeah, and like I say, there are the legislation, the state legislation permits, of course, red light running cameras. Many cities, I believe Tampa has Hillsborough County, I'm not sure the exact number, but it was many dozens of red light running cameras in Hillsborough County. And of course, Polk County as well, the big ones, of course. And the supplemental to the plan, what's interesting is that I'm not an officer. One of my best friends at Lakeland, Sergeant Humbar, would tell me that one of the worst, absolute worst, detail is to deal with red light runners in the field. Because you're in a potential chase scene.
Yeah.
You know, you're, this is not fun for them to do. And so in fact, there's now like a little light that goes on so that the officer could see in reverse what happened. That light goes on, it's either blue or white, that matches the run. And so they don't have to be now chasing the whatever you call that person.
Red light runner.
Red light runner, right. So your point's well taken. It has to be hand in hand. Our view was, I cannot deal with the legislative or the, what was the other word, or the law enforcement end of it. My job is to save lives. This saves lives. This prevents the crash, regardless of the politics, regardless of the philosophy. I just want to save lives and reduce unnecessary injury. Sergeant Mumbar would tell me that he, by the way, is in charge of the SWAT team. You can imagine, but probably the bravest guy I've ever met in my entire life. You know, bullets flailing all over the place. And then he'd say that, Angelo, when I'd have to make that phone call to mom or dad, I'd have to go into a dark room and kind of calm down and meditate before I make that call. This is a guy who's fearless, absolutely fearless, and then has to make that phone call. He has to do it in a complete about face. So pretty serious stuff. So I care about the crash. You're well said in terms of what you commented. Of course, we need to kind of penalize the offender, obviously. I guess that's the word, the offender. Same time, I need to stop that crash.
We're getting ready to close down.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right? Steve?
Angelo, you said that the data is now starting to come back in from the COVID, like,
Yeah.
so, will you be able to come back and tell us definitively how many, times, the system enacted? And what can we do to advance adoption of this in Tampa and or Hillsborough County? Like,
Okay,
what's the
great.
status here?
The first question, I don't really have any authority to do that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm a volunteer at this point in terms
Yeah.
of this, I have very strong passion, you can tell, for this.
Yeah.
So I'm keeping myself connected with it. So I can certainly, I'm happy to continue following up with Lakeland and District 1 to see what kind of progress they're making on the project and how it's coming back to life. As to your question, what can we or
What
what
can
we
the CAC
do about this? Certainly you have some options here. You could explore the feasibility of, for example, at either a local level or certainly, obviously, if the TPO is interested, I wouldn't be here if the TPO wasn't interested in formulating some kind of a commentary to say, hey, should we explore this further or should we not? Is this something that's worth additional discussion? And that's certainly up to this body to make recommendations. I'm sure they'd love to hear from you. It's wordy.
Your knowledge, it has not been implemented in Tampa or Hillsborough County.
To the best of my knowledge, Angela Rao speaking here, the only other two jurisdictions in the country, North America, are one district in Texas is experimenting with it. And it's my understanding more recently that Georgia is experimenting with a similar kind of system. To the best of my knowledge, no one else is doing it to this degree.
Thank you.
Dana, did I see your hand up? Quickly, please.
Just quickly, I feel like this should replace red light cameras because the goal is to save people's lives. Sure, yeah, it's bad if somebody breaks the law and runs a red light. But at the end of the day, if nobody gets hurt, why? I don't know. I just feel like it would be aspirational if this replaced the punitive red light camera that just taxes people, and especially when there's no human element to say whether or not the light was actually ran in a way that breaks the law and not like at a right hand turn or anyways. I have 3 examples, but I'm not gonna name them.
Last comment, Justin.
So I'd like to know is how does this integrate
Because I know there's another system out there that allows emergency vehicles coming through intersection to get that traffic flowing so they can get through. Can this actually, in essence, do that at the same time, or can it integrate with that system? Because I think that's another thing that would be needed around here, is some of these intersections are so backed up that you're trying to see the emergency vehicles to get someplace. You know, we're all about saving lives, then we have to get that traffic flowing so those responders can get there in whatever the standard time is or before that to save lives too.
There is an entire subsystem that's associated with emergency services, either in the field with, they're called roadside units, RSUs, where they communicate with, for example, fire trucks and ambulances. I don't think police, fire trucks and ambulances. So there is a subsystem that already has that in place and allows for those vehicles to get priority. Also, I think Ms. Dana asked about priorities for transit. There is a transit priority system as well that's built in as a subsystem. So there are a lot of subsystems going on at the same time. I feel like you're a traffic engineer and has a lot of plates in the air that he or she is managing. But you're absolutely right. That is a factor that has to be taken into account. The good news about this system is that it doesn't have to wait many cycles to get back in order, because a lot of the questions I get, well, Angela, you're just going to mess up coordination. It's going to be a disaster. Yes, for one cycle. It immediately reverts back to the standard cycle immediately thereafter. So you don't need like 10 cycles to get back in order again. So that's kind of a good part of it. I know it's not quite answering your question, Mr. Johnson, that it's certainly a factor in what's being considered in the whole overall system. Yeah.
Good. Angelo, thank you
Very much. Thank you for your time.
Great. All right, we have two other status reports, both of which I think could probably be wrapped up in about a minute
Or less.
or less.
No bill has been submitted to the dog park. On the members' request of the potential merger, there's an addendum item that has the quarterly report, and there's some good things coming ahead. You guys are, citizens are welcome to attend the principals workshop. It's going to happen on November 14th with a collaborative layout. So there's an opportunity to voice your concerns or interest in or support, whatever it is for the merger. I think that was really all I needed to say on that. There's some good information out there. Look at your addendum.
Okay. Next CAC meeting is December the 3rd, 6 p.m. Same bad time, same location. Hey, that's it, folks. Anything for the good of the order?
New business.
Chris?
Sorry to drag this, but so you talked about moving forward, whatever that program is with Santa, that big announcement of express lanes on I-4 and just trying to have managed lanes thing going. I uncovered a 20+ document that FDOT's supposed to provide and justify all the work that's going to happen in the downtown interchange. I've been very unsuccessful in getting answers about these documents. Many of them are not even due till 2026. I just thought after we got approval of the highway system, that was it. So it looks like we're going to be having a lot more documents to review. I would like to have somebody from FDOT to come forward and talk about these documents. And I can coordinate with staff more in detail as to what these documents are. So that way we can have preparation when they show up and get on point on this.
So this is, you're under member interest item here. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
All right. And you'll coordinate with, I guess, Sarah.
Yeah.
You're not here permanently. This is a temporary baton.
Temporary, yeah.
But if you could just coordinate with her and get it in the queue. Okay. Sounds interesting. All right, folks, anything else for the good of the order? No? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving.
That's right. Next time we meet, it'll be after. How's it going? Yeah.